سلام لكم أرخم وخبة إيكيتيتم بغزايا أنا شمي بيتر إبراهيم وأديو بتهاون خاتبقتا ديلانيتا ودا همزمتا من خكمة آوودة بالاخي كشيرة تيوا توالو خجرة خدور رابا خيلانا جو فيلما ينزل شكلا غزق يم تومايا تيوا بيشا من مبقانا director Frank Gilbert. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. My name is Peter Ibrahim, and I'll be your host for an engaging conversation and deep dive with our very own production team that was behind the scenes for the production of Journey of Eternity, a movie by our very own Frank Gilbert. Journey of Eternity tells the story of an unjust execution of three activists who become heroes in their martyrdom for defending the human rights of the indigenous Assyrian people in the Middle East. And with me today are just a handful of pillars behind the production of Journey of Eternity. Ben Galera, who served as first assistant director, Cecile Cinco, producer, Global Edge Pictures, and Shar Yonan, producer with Global Edge Pictures as well. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
Very
Good.
good.
Amazing. It's great to be here,
Great.
Peter.
So
Yeah,
excited to be here.
thank you all. I love this team already. I just met you minutes ago, and they already want me to work with them. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So
Great.
I want each of you to introduce yourselves and briefly share with us how you got involved in the entertainment industry. And let's start with Shar.
Hi, I'm Shar. I got involved in the entertainment industry when I actually left Chicago and I came to California. I mean, I was doing things in Chicago, acting, getting involved in acting and understanding what makes a great character, what makes a great actor. So when I came here, I was involved in a lot of production, a lot of behind the scenes, entertainment and film festivals, and I started collaborating and meeting a lot of film producers and film directors. And next thing I know, those friendships grew. And next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call. Hey, Shar, I would like you to produce a project for me. So that's when the ignition started. I went full force and I dove in and I've been doing it ever since. So that's how it all
Great.
started for me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Peter.
Absolutely. How about you, Cecile? Briefly share with us how you got involved in the entertainment industry.
Well, I've always been interested in the film industry. I love movies since I was a little girl in the Philippines. And I really didn't know how to get in that world, I'm like, my family, they're not in it. They're mostly nurses. They're mostly in the military. And that's not something that we pursue. And so, I got my degree in accounting and I worked, as an auditor for about 4 or 5 years. And then that's when I said, this is not something that I really wanted to do with my life. So I really went out there and, just try to discover my creative side. And I looked into acting, I looked into painting, and I discovered I really like the whole storytelling aspect of filmmaking. And that's when I decided to go to film school. I pretty much packed up and went to LA and went to, world-renowned film school. That's sort of how it started.
Great,
And
thank
before
you.
that, before that, I didn't have any experience. I'd never touched a camera, nothing like that. So,
Yeah,
yep.
just a natural talent. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. I'm glad I'm glad I did that.
And how about you, Ben? How did you get involved?
Yeah, I always loved movies growing up as a kid. After I got my business degree, I decided before I started working for any corporate job, I wanted to get a chance at working movies. It's so new, so I just took the dive and started working on productions, working my way up the ladder. Position starting from the bottom, work my way up, and that
Yeah,
was my process.
Yeah.
excellent. Shar, how did you hear about Journey of Eternity and how did you become involved in this film?
So I was invited to my cousin's wedding. I flew to Chicago. I live here in California. I went to a wedding and I'm dancing, yeah, dancing, having a great time. And Abby Sargis pulls me out of the line from dancing and he says, I want to introduce you to someone. He was so gracious and so kind that he brings me to Frank Gilbert, introduces me to Frank Gilbert. And right then and there, he started talking to me about the film. And that's when something inside of me got ignited. I've worked on so many film productions, and to me, messages mean everything. And when I heard Frank say, you know, what this film was going to be about, you know, three martyrs, and I understand because of my culture who the three martyrs are. And I said, this is it, I'm in. And right away I called Cecile and I said, you have to hear me on this one. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Does anyone
Cecile was
else?
my producing partner, so I had to
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
I had to call her. I was so excited. You know, it's all about messages for me. And it's very important as a film producer that we bring messages to the forefront to the world. And this is a story that the community of Assyrians know, but does the world know about it? Does Hollywood know about it? Right? About injustice and persecution. So whether I'm at a wedding or at a party, I'm always scouting for talent, and I'm always ready and willing to listen to someone who has an inspirational story. And that's when I called Cecile.
And I thank you for that, because when she brought the project to me, I was I was clueless really about the story. And when she told me the story and she described everything, the martyrs, I was just like blown away by the story. And I said, yeah, I want to be a part of it. And of course, I trust Shar. We've been best friends for what? How long since we've known each other? 2017?
Since
2015.
We filmed a major feature film in 2014 with Eric Roberts, and that's how we met. It was instantaneously, that friendship. And
yeah,
that
we immediately clicked.
Yes.
We immediately clicked. I really wanted to continue, you know, this collaboration. And not just that, we're good friends. We talk all the time, and we share a lot of, you know, personal information about each other. And that's what it's all about.
I got the new Shard through Cecile, and so I was immediately drawn by how passionate Shar is about this project, which obviously you can see right here. Is that okay? Let's do this. Let's help make this film for her. So that's how we got brought into it.
Yep.
Right. And Ben, I'm glad you picked up on that. Yeah. Ben, as you know, you served as first assistant director on Journey of Eternity, but what inspired you to become a film director?
Well, I've worked in this industry. I worked my way up. I worked with many directors, and I always imagine, like, how do directors, why do they choose certain shots? When I watch movies, I study directors and their approach of why do they shoot certain scenes in a certain way, what's the meaning behind it, and try to peer into the mind of what they think. And then when I work on projects and we have a scene, and then we go into the breakdown of side, what is the scene about? How do we shoot the scene? What is the best? How does the camera placements and the position of the actors and how the elements that are put together serve the story? Because in the end, we all serve the story. So for me, as whether I'm directing or as a first AD, I think this in mind for the director, so that when we're moving this forward, is hey, this is how we can do this. When we have issues, we can come up with solutions to do a film the way that helps the director's vision. Or if it's my vision, then this is how we can execute it. You know, in order to talk to the team. That's what it comes down to.
Great. Cecile, what do you think makes a great film?
Oh, that's a loaded question, but from an entertainment perspective, a great piece of film is a film that can entertain the masses. With so many problems that we're facing, you know, in the world today, like, you know, high unemployment, high inflation, company layoffs, all these different things, war, and of course, people are getting sick right now. I mean, politics, economy, let's not even go there. If we can just, like, you know, have people entertain themselves and forget about the challenges of their reality for a couple of hours, that's a great film. And even an even better film is if you can move an audience and impact them with the message of a film. I think that's powerful, and that is our goal with this film and with Global Edge Pictures.
And just to jump in a little bit at what Cecile's saying, you know, the great score and a great script, and I think making a film about it kind of gives people a peer to this perspective of someone that has lived that life. May not be exactly, but it's like what it's like to be there. So hopefully it inspires them moving forward. So.
Great. Thank you, Ben. Shar, do you have anything to add on what makes a great film?
Inspirational stories for me, something that moves me, something that will motivate me to do better and to help others. And if we can project that message into the audience, then they can grasp that message as well and make a difference. and
Mhm.
whether it's in your community or whether it's with the masses, because true film, good film, carries strong messages, and that is why I so much want to be a part of this project. This is definitely a movie that needs to be told, and I think it was executed wonderfully, and Frank Gilbert and Ebby Star just did that, hands down.
Yeah. And we'll get more into Abby Sargis's role and Frank's role really in this film later on in this interview. But Shar, you know, the three of you seem like a great team and that you work in unison together. What are some most important elements of filmmaking?
A lot of elements of filmmaking for me, excuse me. Did you want me to go, Cecile?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
To me is the angles that you take and whether they're close-ups and pulling that character in to give you that feeling of that you're with that character and you're walking on their journey with them. So it's, for me, great angle shots, whether wide, close-ups, and a lot of continuity is very important. And continuity means when you're shooting a scene, you want to continue that process of that film, you know, being executed out to the fullest. So to me, those elements are very critical in filmmaking and producing a great product for viewers to watch that will inspire them.
Cecile?
I believe that it's very important to have passionate and resourceful team players. When I say team players, I'm not talking about just because I'm a producer doesn't mean that I'm not willing to roll up my sleeves and get down and dirty and do like some, you know, gripping and doing some craft services. You know, that's what a great team is about. Team player is someone that's going to do anything to make this a film successful. And if we're short of hand, then they're willing to go out there and help out, whatever it is.
Great.
That's really what I'm looking for. And that's the best element or the most important element, I feel, when we're on set. So, and that's these guys are like that. I can definitely count on them anytime.
How about you, Ben?
Well, I mean, as we mentioned before, it's all about having a great team. And, you know, when you have a great collaboration amongst people, we can have discussions of how we want to do things. And for me, when we do films, when we have that as a team, that we're all selfless individuals, that we all have a common goal. We're all going to get through, like, you know, filmmaking is tough, but as a team, you can get through it together. And then in the end of the film, when we finish making it, even though we have some hard times, we're gonna laugh at it and say, "Hey, we did, you know, you remember this day? Yeah, it was such a painful on this day, but we got through it and we just moved forward." I mean, just when you have a team where they have your back and you have theirs, and you can kind of accomplish anything. So it kind of gives you that confidence that, you know, we can do it together. So we don't have to worry so much. We'll help each other out. You know.
Yeah, camaraderie goes a long way, and just making memories in the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cecile, can you share with us, you know, the viewers, what constitutes a good script?
Well, when I first read a script, I usually read it just, you know, roughly just to see whether I enjoy it. And if I like it and if I get into it and I get obsessed with it, I know that it's a good story. And usually I can't put it down. And when a script is like that, there's a lot of elements to that script, and that's usually it has a great story. There's a likable hero, and all the characters are interesting. And by the end of reading the script, I went through so many roller coaster of emotions with twists and turns, and you know, and these are things I didn't expect, and that's what that's what a good script. Yep.
Does anyone else want to chime into what constitutes a good script?
I would like to agree with Cecile wholeheartedly. Oh, go ahead, Ben, if you want to jump in.
No, go for it, please.
I just want to piggyback off of Cecile. That's, you know, she nails it. And I think that a successful film is also listening to what the director wants and getting that onto, you know, from script to screen. It's just incredible. So grabbing those messages and grabbing his vision is very key.
Ben?
You know, for me, especially for my position, because when I get sent scripts, and if it's a project that me and other producers are considering moving forward, then I'll do a breakdown. And it's when I can read a script and it flows effortlessly. You know, it also takes a skill to write it to be able to draw someone in the story. And for me, is I can see the film as I'm reading it. You know, like I'm not just reading words on paper, I'm actually seeing the story as I'm going through it. So that's what, for me, makes a great script.
Great. You know, Ben, can you share with the viewers what breakdown means when we first are presented with a script? Because we get presented with scripts all the time.
Yeah.
And so there's certain elements to making a good script, right? So Ben, just explain to everyone what breakdown means when you're
Sure.
reading a script and you're ready to break it.
I have other producers, and basically when they come to me to say, hey, you want to make this film, they send me the script. And so, okay, let me read the script. And I do a script breakdown, which is basically I break it down by each scene, the elements of the scene. Then I make a preliminary schedule. So, hey, this actor plays in this many scenes. So we kind of organize it. In other words, so that we preparing and planning ourselves of moving forward with the plan of how we're going to execute this film. And then we talk about, okay, we need this location, we need this, we need this. And so when we have that, we understand, okay, this is what we're going to need to make this film. So it takes basically something very vague and breaks it down where we need this, we need this, we need this. And then he says, okay, what team do we bring together to help accomplish this? And that's what I mean by breakdowns. You break it down. So you say, okay, what elements do we need to make this film?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great segue into the next question, Shar. What are the typical responsibilities of a film producer?
What don't we do? We're like the big babysitter, the big mama bear. First of all, to be a film producer, you have to have great patience, everyone. So if there's anyone out there that wants to be in this business, that wants to be a producer, you have to have great patience, a lot of patience, and you're basically collaborating with your team. You're reviewing the scripts, you're getting casting, you're helping with rewriting of the script, and you're coordinating, managing location scouting, location searching, ensuring that your team is together and you have different departments for everything. And the other part of producing is ensuring that your film has a great budget. You have to have a great budget. You have to have finances. All of us want to be in this business, right? But if you don't have that budget, and that's the first thing I say to anyone producing, bring in a script to me. What does your budget look like? Let's see what this looks like, right? So it's about financing, budgeting your movie, and then executing your team and getting everyone collaborating together. And then once that happens, and that's a lot of moving parts, then you start talking about your production, all the pieces are there, and then distribution, which the world needs to see, right? So all that work, we need that piece out there. And Cecile and
I can add something to that, Shar. Like one of the main responsibilities of a film producer is to really ensure the film is completed on a timely manner and within budget, under budget if possible, never over budget. And that's important to maximize the return to our investors, because these are people that believe in us and our company and our projects, and we want to keep them happy. That's one of the main things that definitely we have to keep in mind.
Now, bring this up. I was working in the business for a while. I went back to film school to kind of just learn more. And I was with the director that was teaching the class, and he was asking the students, hey, what does a producer do? And so I was like, oh, they raise money, they do this. Like, eventually, they're dancing around a little bit. Then I raised my hand, wanted to be the last one because obviously I know I'm the experienced one. And basically my answer is they make it happen. And that's basically what a producer is. An example of that is Shar on this film is where we need a hospital location. We need this. Char's like, I know somebody. I will figure it out, and you'll get that. So several times in the film where Shar came through, like, we need, because every film has its own challenges. And as a producer, we have to adapt to say, hey, how can we solve this? And it's great examples of Shar doing this on this film where we need this location, we need this. So she knew what places were great. She knew the people who would help us that would be very welcoming. And that's why we were able to get this film done, because immensely because of what Shar was able to contribute.
I completely agree.
You guys were a huge part of that piece.
It's like a miracle worker, yeah.
But to the viewers and everyone watching, do you guys know that the hospital that I got, I will share this with you guys. I lost it the night before the actors came for the shoot. And I was able to get another one just in the nick of time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
A
what
great
us
producer
producers
basically
do. We don't wait. We're constantly multitasking and keep. That's why I'm saying you have to have patience
Yeah,
and coolness throughout. You have to be very
that's
calm and cool throughout everything.
that's what it is.
Uh,
A producer has to pretty much like put out the fires every
Yeah.
single day and anticipate problems that could happen on set every single day. And it's really, that's the main job of a producer on set. So
And just to chime in on that, not just as a producer, but as any person who in our industry or any other industry, it really comes down to when something happens, which on filming, stuff happens all the time.
mhm,
And instead of pointing the blame and complaining, like a good team, good people, like let's move forward. How can we solve the solution? How can we
mhm,
move forward? How can we fix this? How can we do this?
yes,
We, especially on our time schedule, we don't have time to complain and point fingers because it doesn't help us. So by
yes,
us thinking, how can we do this? How can we move forward? We automatically training our brain like thinking of solutions, and that's what we do as the producers: find solutions, find solutions. How can we make this? How can we get more money? How can we save money? And a bunch of things like that.
Yeah. Ben, I want to ask you, what are the responsibilities of a first assistant director?
So ultimately, you'll know who a first AD is on set when they're the loudest one. And that's not to say to be demeaning, but in terms of a good first AD should be a good communicator first. It's when, as a first AD, you have to communicate with your first AD. And for me, when I first AD is I try to anticipate what my director's thinking. Because I can imagine, for me, when I work on film sets, I work with directors who I can tell where they're getting stuck. And I know they have problems. Okay, well, how can I come up with a solution for you? And it says, this is what we can do. We can do this, we can do this. This is work. And he likes it or he wants something. And then talking to the other departments. So a good first AD will be a great communicator of telling people, here's what we're looking to do. Here's our day plan. And let's help each other out. And if there's a problem, let's talk. Like for instance, if you have, say, because the DP will always first AD and the DP will always talk because there's always timing issues in art department and makeup, and says, we ask ourselves, how much time do you need? It's like we talk to other people that you need this time. Okay, let's see what we can do in the meantime. And if we're trying to say if our actor is have car trouble, it's going to be 2 hours late. We talk to the director, we talk to the other department, say, what can we shoot in the meantime? What can we do? And so we say, okay, let's do this, let's do this. We communicate. That's why it's very important for us to be on the radio, communicating to our team. Who needs help? Here's what we got to do. We're moving on to this. And from as a first AD on, we communicate through our team to communicate to all other departments so that they're aware of. Because to tell someone that it takes an hour to do something that you have 5 minutes could be dangerous, and unsafe, but also frustrating. But if you give them an hour's notice and it takes and you give them an hour notice, then okay, then they'll be ready by the time you get there. And then there's a respect factor both ways of, hey, let me help you, help me. If I can communicate you to help your job make easier, I know you'll make my job easier as well.
Yeah.
And so that's very important too, is also for a director to be communicating well with his first ADs to know what he thinks. So that if he's thinking about changing some things, then I should communicate this to the other one. So, hey, other departments, hey, we might do this, just be prepared. So when that decision gets made, hey, we're going to try this, everybody's ready to go.
Yeah.
Versus everybody's scrambling, because that's what we don't want is a scrambling versus we're all to communicate, we don't have to scramble as much. It works better when, like any team, good communication is the key.
Excellent.
I
Cecile,
agree
how
with
long
that.
does it,
Go ahead. Sorry.
no worries. How long does it take for the production process to take place?
Let me just clarify that there's actually 4 phases of filmmaking. The first phase is development phase, and that is when the script is written and analyzed to determine whether it's feasible to actually produce it, and that's when we will be creating the film proposal, the initial script breakdown, like Ben talked about, the initial estimated budget, the preferred cast list, the department head recruiting, just like recruiting the director, another producer, whoever it is, the head of the departments, and hiring the cinematographer, and most importantly, this is the phase where we try to raise money, and this phase is the most the hardest part for a lot of independent filmmakers, because some scripts don't ever get out of this phase, and it could take years. And the next stage is the pre-production stage, where you're actually, once you raise the money and you're ready to actually shoot a film, then the pre-production is the planning stage. And I love this stage because this will keep your budget low if you put some time into planning, and keep everybody, keep the set smooth and efficient and everything going smoothly. So I'm a big fan of pre-production. I like to plan 3 to 6 months before actually shooting. But some producers, they don't do pre-production, just depends. Some do less, some do more. In pre-production, what we do in this phase is that we complete casting. We finalize the schedule and the budget. We go location scouting and finalize that. We look at tax incentive and figure out how much the tax incentive is, make sure all the numbers are set. We discuss wardrobe, we discuss props, we discuss production design and all of that. All the little details like that is planned in this phase. And when we're all set, we communicate, like the director puts together all their shot list and work with the cinematographer for the mood of this of the film. And then we help support that vision. That's the pre-production phase. And of course, the third one is the actual shooting, the production side. And that's when we actually shoot the script from start to finish. That could take as little as what, Ben? I think we've shot a film for like as little as 7 days.
I've done film, tight schedules, and I've done longer shoots. So it's all, every film, budget challenges. This is where, and depending on the needs, and we find solutions for that. So
yeah, 7 days, and I've seen it where like three months, and that's pretty self-explanatory. We just make sure that we're on time, we're on schedule, and first AD, he cracks the whip with everybody. Make sure that the cinematographer and all the camera crew are are doing their job, everyone's doing their job, and everyone has to collaborate and make sure that we have a successful film. We get everything done on a daily basis. And of course, the last phase is post-production, is when all of the raw material is taken to all of the post-production people, like the editor, the sound designer, and put together music and to make a coherent film, that we'll be proud of and hopefully successful.
Yeah, thank you for walking us through that.
Too, on
Go
the
ahead, Ben,
development side.
Excuse me?
One of the things I do also as a line producer is when we break down the script and this is our budget, and I present, is it feasible for us? And I do that with another project where we were thinking about filming this in California, and I talked to him like, we're not going to be able to film this in California. We don't have the budget for it. This is not going to work for our film. And then we considered looking out of the country. And that's where it led us, okay, this is more feasible for us to say, hey, because a lot of this stuff will be decided in the beginning, where if we're thinking about this, I present to producers, hey, if we want to film this here, this is our challenge here. We might have logistic challenges, but the cost of what we save, it depends. And like, for instance, I did a film in Mississippi where our total budget for location was under $10,000 for a 14-day shoot, when in California, it's easily 50 grand. And that's where finalizing what is best suited for the project. What are the best needs? And then also, within the pre-production, we talked, and Cecile brought up, but knowing which people to call for this team. If you have, because the different productions require different needs. If you need a director or producer or DP, so a director and DP who knows how to work fast, that they don't need to spend so many takes. They need to be very precise. And that's very important for us as AD. Is like, what do we want to shoot? We get what we need and we move on. Versus if we have the luxury of being able to have longer shoots, and we have, and also if we're blessed with great cast that know the line characters and the lines really well, where they can just be flawless. And we'll talk about that with one of the cast that we worked on this shoot as well. But during production wise, is having the team that knows how to work, that understands this is our timeline, and that helps us a lot. So in other words, I wouldn't say cracking the whip, it's more like communicating well. But in other words, making sure that everybody understands, because I think, a lot of DPs I work with, if they're communicating well, their teams work fast, and it's not to be so, I don't have to be the meaning, but hey, we understand each other. We all understand their needs, and then if they tell me something said needs more time, I get it. So it's not like make it, we got to do what's best for the film, what's safe. Most importantly, what was very safe for a film, and then move on.
Nice. Thank you, Ben. I'm going to take it back to Shar. What is the goal of the producers or a producer of any film?
Our main goal, really, at the end of the day, is to get the film seen, right? And to ensure that the film is quality, right? The script is amazing and the film is seen. And the goal is to finish the shoot and get it done and ensure that distribution comes into play. That's our main goal.
Cecile, would you like to add?
No, I agree with her. I mean, I think she's on point on that.
Great. And Ben, I want to ask you, how do you work with cinematographers to capture the image that you want?
And in this stage, when we have a project in a script, a lot of times as a director, I'll talk to one of the producers and we'll talk about ideas I have. So initially, I'll read through the script. I'll talk about ideas, what images I think of, what I can reference. There are some great websites that have images from films that we can reference. And then talking to, cinematographers, hey, what ideas do you have? What do you see? And we start talking about it because it's not, I don't like to work where I'm dominating the conversation and you do what I tell you. It's more like, what do you think? And we think. And then from there on, we find what is best for the film. Because ultimately, the script is the boss. And when the story is like, we serve the story, so we got to do what story as demands and what works best for the story. And then obviously within reason. And so by talking with cinematographers, we talk about the style, what shots. And in my experience, when I worked with directors, when we shot a scene, I kind of deferred. Early in my career, I kind of deferred when I realized this doesn't serve the story. The look what we're doing is not what I want the people to feel when they're watching this character. I don't want to see this person on a hilltop seeing a great view when really his world is being trapped. And I need to see him like on a basketball court behind a fence, seeing that, hey, he's kind of caged up. And that's where I kind of deferred where I realized, sometimes you got to decide, depending on who you work with, and sometimes if they understand what's the story. Because a great cinematographer will ask you how we want to shoot this. And he says, well, the great answer is, well, what's in the story? What's in the script? What's happening? And then he says, oh, we're going to light this way. We can't light this way, but you don't know what's happening in the story. So yes, says how the scene's lit depends on the story.
Right.
So that's why you see a difference between like sitcom being general lit, front lit, and then versus you get more dramatic films that have that stylized, that say, hey, this reflects the feeling inside. And you can see that in like Joker, where the color of the images reflect the inner turmoil with the character. So
Thank you. Yeah. Tell me about the kind of camera that you use to shoot Journey of Eternity.
So Journey of Eternity came out at a time where, obviously digital cameras have been growing. I was one of the first ones that worked with the Red 1 cameras. And by the time this film came out, cinematographer that we had brought on this film had a Red Epic. And that was like one of the best cameras at the time digitally for us. And that's where, okay, we're going to shoot with this camera. And obviously the advantages of it helped our film significantly. And especially for a lot of independent filmmakers, that camera has been very advantageous for us for what we want to achieve. So
Beautiful. I'll throw it back to Cecile. What do you think is the most important thing for a film producer or even a first director, a first assistant director to know?
I think knowing that the production status at all time in regards to like the daily shot goals and the daily expenses, because remember, we want to make sure that we shoot timely, we get an under budget. So knowing your expenses and knowing what your goals are for the day is very crucial, and to make sure that we're on schedule for the day, and making sure keeping an eye on the money.
Shar, what do you think is the most important thing for film producer, first assistant director to know?
I totally agree with Cecile 100%. It's always about time. You have to have time. You have to allocate that amount of time that you're working with within those 9 hours or 10 hours that you're working. You want to ensure that those shoots are completed and they're professional and it's done. Let's move on. If not, again, like Cecile said, where's the budget? Now we have to go to another day shoot, and what's happening to the cast that was supposed to show up the next day to film shoot. So it's timing, and so it's important that Cecile and I are communicating, and we're all doing our part to ensure that everything is running smooth. And if that doesn't happen, you're shooting into the next day or the next day after that or into the night.
And
So
we're behind.
yes, and we can't be
We
behind
need more
schedule.
days.
Everything is moving, and then then we're running to our computers, or we're calling our actors, calling their managers. Don't send them to set. We're not ready for them yet. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a
so if
lot
you're,
of
yeah.
parts.
So if usually if we're behind, we have to make a decision. Do we want to continue shooting this scene, or can we cut it out? That's an important decision you have to make. And you have to talk about it with the director and the producer, because otherwise we have to say, okay, we're gonna have to, move it for another day to shoot this. Can we afford this? Otherwise, can we read the script again? Can we actually do this movie without this scene? So you have to make a choice, and those are hard choices to make. And sometimes you have to make a choice right then and there.
Ben, what do you think? Oh, go ahead.
I think it's very important I think as a skill in general in our industry is learning how to work with people. Everybody's different, and understanding, especially when you have a crew, is that on the first day of set, it's always going to be the slowest. That's just how it is, because everybody's just getting started. They're new to each other. We don't understand how each other works. We're figuring each other out. And that's why you see a lot of productions that they do well, because they have similar people that they know, we know this. We know how to work with them. Knowing how to work with different people helps you understand their process. The same thing for director and actors is that when he works with an actor, a director should try to find the actor's process. By knowing this process of how they do things, it's okay. We can plan ahead accordingly. And when we have challenges of come up, such as that they brought up about certain things that come up, we have to understand what is the cause of this problem. Why are we behind? And we say, okay, let's not make the mistake. Let's figure it out. Let's solve it. And that's where the team work comes in of how can we solve this? Knowing how, and this is where knowing your team helps out. If you have teams that are very understandable, like Shar and Cecile are, we get it. We know what we have to do. It's a sign of a bad producer is that doesn't understand logic, does it for the sake of saying things, not necessarily understanding what the film production needs. And that's okay. We adapt, we adjust. We work the shoots where we're really behind here because we're short on people that were helping us. So the answer is, okay, we have some money set aside. Let's bring someone else on board to help this department. And it helps out, and that eventually does help make a difference in the film. And it ultimately, there is a budget we have, but that we always have to try to find a way to make that budget work within reason. And that's where knowing our problems come in, is okay, this is why we prepare for this. Or if we say, we think we need 100 background, when technically we only need 20. Okay, good. That helps us. We reshuffle money that was going to been to that to go to something else. So knowing where we can adjust the project to make it work, move forward better.
Thank you, Ben. I'll take it back to Shar. Journey of Eternity, as we spoke about earlier, tells the story of an unjust execution of Yubert, Yosef, and Yuchanna, who become heroes in their martyrdom. What message do you feel the movie Journey of Eternity emits to the natural viewer?
To the natural viewer, it admits that we, the Assyrians, have suffered persecution in our own homeland. I know this movie that is being seen by the Assyrians know the story and understand the story, but please understand from the outside viewer. So this question, I'm looking at through the eyes of Hollywood, through Ben, through Cecile, and all my other producing partners that I work with. It admits persecution, injustice, inhumane atrocities that have happened to our people for being Christian, for wanting their rights. And this film was able to execute that at the level where people from the outside who are non-Assyrian are understanding and grasping that this is a complete injustice, and they want to be a part of that process and a part of the solution. Yosef, Hubert, Yuchanna, their martyrdom has gone without saying, that they have served an injustice, inhumane act against them, atrocity against them, but for their name and for their family's name to understand that Their martyrdom has gone without saying, it has not gone for nothing. It has gone for power, for us to understand, to keep their journey going, to keep their light going, to keep their flame going. We respect them. We honor them for their courageous stance on basic humanitarian rights. And I think that we as a nation need to stand together and united and support the film to continue their legacy. And it's important to keep these three men's legacy alive. It's very important.
I'd like to open it up to Cecile or Ben if they want to chime in as well on the message that you feel this movie, Journey of Eternity, emits.
No, I'll say, oh, go ahead, Cecile.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And what the take I got from it was, no matter what, don't lose hope. Just keep, the struggle is there. In the end, it will be worth it. And that's what I think. I think for all of us, we watch this film. He says, by understanding someone else's struggle, we understand our own, and that we can move forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben. Cecile, did you want to add anything?
No, I think they got it. I
Okay.
love what they said. I agree with them.
Right.
completely.
So Ebi Sergis is the lead actor in this film. Shar, can you share your thoughts on his portrayal of Ishu, and how do you feel his character came to life?
First, I would like to say Ebi did a phenomenal job. Yes, he is the lead actor. He developed his character with a lot of strength, and we see that throughout the beginning of the film. And I don't want to give too much information away for those that didn't see the film, but he was able to grasp the character and walk us through that journey. He breathed life into his character, and he took the viewer by the hand and walked us on his journey to see the inhumane injustices, not only that happened to himself, but for those that were executed, those that were martyred. His acting ability and style is second to none. He's a phenomenal actor. He is, to me, in my profession, I call him a method actor. He's focused. He stays in character before shooting. We keep everyone away from him, and he's focused on his character. He's able to emit all that energy and all his passion and all his energy into the truth, right? And so that truth emits. And so when you're walking on his journey with him, you're captivated, you're pulled in. And that's what makes an excellent actor. Ebi did, hands down.
Go ahead,
Cecile. Just to add a little bit on that, because honestly, I was not familiar with his work. I'm not familiar. And when the first time I saw him on act, I was completely mesmerized. Even watching the film, I was like, I couldn't keep my eyes off of him. Every time he gets on screen, my eyes focus on him. I didn't really, I was like, I wanted to watch him. That's it. And he was definitely mesmerizing, and he upstaged Eric Roberts. Come on, that's a huge thing.
Yeah. And for Eric like literally leaned over to me and he's like, Shar, Ebi's phenomenal. I'm like, I know.
Yep.
I brought the best with the best.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned method acting, but this is essentially a way or a method that trains actors to use their physical, mental, and emotional self and the creation of their character. And so, that's one thing. And you could feel as though I've seen clips up to this day, but you feel how Ebi truly embraces that character that he plays in this movie.
That's exactly right. And to the viewer that's watching, a method actor are your Academy Award Oscar winning actors, right? They're the ones who breathe and live the life of the character from the time they wake up in the morning. Their thought process has to change, right? The way they think about things has to change. The way they feel, they breathe the life of that character into them. And it's a mindset that you have, and because of our atrocities, right? Ebi knows his Assyrian history. I pretty much know mine. It becomes stronger. And like you said, Peter, it becomes a part of them. And that's a great method actor. And Ebi did that hands down, 100%.
Yeah, thanks for going into that. I think it really helps the viewers put together a framework of the acting and the training that is needed. I
You
want to
need
throw
a
this out. I want to throw this out to the group in regards to the character William Cooper, played by Eric Roberts. How significant is his portrayal in Journey of Eternity?
beyond significant, because he represents the United Nations, right? He represents someone that can help the inhumane injustices and atrocities that are happening to the indigenous people of their homeland. And so there's a message of hope. Like Ben said, you got to take some hope out of this. We can't just stand in the darkness for so long. And with that comes Evie's last moment, right? So his character of Isho, if that's his last moment, he comes full circle. This is his moment, and I'm going to meet with you. So Eric Roberts did a phenomenal job executing that, and the two were just totally in sync with each other. So his character of William Cooper was a very significant and vital part of the whole movie and pushing the movie forward to where that journey ended.
Cecile, do you have
just want to
something?
chime in there a little bit,
Cecile,
but
Ben, yeah, I want to see if you guys
Well,
want to chime
I'm
in.
pretty much gonna say the same thing as Char, so
Yeah.
let Ben say it.
I worked with Eric many times before.
Yeah.
When he came on this project, I was like, "Hey, long time no see," and we gave each other a hug. You know, I knowing him, you know, when I worked with him on films, he dives into his character. He's like, he's ready, a great professional, knows what he has to do, communicates very well, very respected. So it was an honor to see him again, and you know, I work with him all the time. So you know, it's good. Yeah.
You know, one question that we didn't go through, I want to explore. So who of the three traveled to Iraq to film?
None of us went to Iraq to film.
Okay. Nice.
We didn't travel there. We
Yeah.
were part of the production here and ensuring that everyone was doing what they needed to do. We were doing the flow. We were the behind the scenes people, right? So
Great.
we ensured the flow happened from here.
We just have to trust that the team that was filming there was going to do a great job, and they understood the mission.
Excellent. Shar, do you feel the film demonstrates the injustices that occur to the indigenous Assyrians in Iraq?
Absolutely, hands down. There's no question. Hands down. Everyone that has seen this film in Hollywood, in this industry, hands down, absolutely. I have an actor that I'm working with right now that was floored, just absolutely floored seeing this movie, that he went out and got an Assyrian label on his arm and he wants to learn more. Yes, it admitted it, hands down. And he wants to know more about Yosef. He wants to know more about their struggles. He wants to know more about Assyrian history. So yes, absolutely, hands down, it did.
I believe the world needs to see it.
Gilbert. Yes.
Yeah, I believe the world definitely needs to see the movie and be awakened. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I have a new respect for the people that have gone through this struggle, and they realize when you see someone on the street, you may not know their history, but what if you give your chance to understand someone who may be very different from you, you realize like it can be very eye-opening and very great learning experience to say this person, because he can walk on the street, you can see him and not know anything about him, but when you hear his life story, like wow, it's amazing how we don't know about this, and that there are people out there who gone through these things and have very significant and not realize it, but they are. And that's where I think what's great about films like this is that it opens eyes that there are people like this who may be different, but they have great stories to tell, and you realize that you can appreciate and respect them in that.
And I really appreciate Ben and Cecile for taking that chance with me, because honestly, they're hard people pleasers when it comes to the business, right? So you want to always keep business separate from friendship. So
because
at the same time, right? So they took that chance with me. This is not something that's easy to put out there. You're literally telling the world what's happening to Christians, to us, to our people in Iraq, right? So a true story is what makes great film. Yes. At the end of the day, we look for inspirational stories, great stories, and I want to thank Cecile and Ben for taking that chance. And I want the Assyrian people in the community to understand it's a huge chance Hollywood has to take, because there's a lot of moving parts that people don't really realize what really goes on behind the scenes and what we go through professionals in the industry. So thank you, Ben. Thank you, Cecile. Abby and I thank you. Frank thanks you. We just
It's
are
a
grateful.
pleasure for
Thanks
us.
for bringing us on.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you
You
for
know,
taking the time with me.
yeah, I think Shar, you covered the next question, but one thing I want you to share your thoughts on Frank Gilbert and, what his role was, not just as a director, but speak to him a little bit because we haven't really covered Frank.
Frank is definitely an artist, and sometimes it's hard for the average person to understand artists because we as artists are different. We see the world differently. We can look at a tree and see beauty in a different way, right? We can look at an art piece and see it in a different way, right? Everything is painted in different hues of colors. Frank is that person. Frank is the artist who thinks outside the box. He has a vision and he goes with it and he collaborates with Cecile and I. It's not like he's running on his own and doing it his own way. He really is a humble man. He wants his vision. He wants the story out there. And, the story is a lot longer than what is being presented because there's a lot of editing that happens, right? So you edit film. Really, there's 4 hours of footage on this, but there was a lot of editing because you basically want to push the story forward. But Frank is an amazing artist. I do believe his message, his intentions are genuine and true, and the message is there. He accomplished his job, he accomplished his journey, and I think it's important that not only does Hollywood support him, and they are, I think the community needs to unite and support him because it's not easy being an artist. You struggle a lot because you're constantly thinking and trying to please and trying to help and trying to collaborate with the team, and we're the team, right? So there's a lot of communication going on. But with that said, he's a true artist. I commend him. I congratulate him on his work. And we're there to continuously support him, especially on his next project that Cecile and I are part of, the Assyrian genocide, starring Casper Van Dien on the road to Ermi. So congratulations, Frank.
Yeah, I'm sure many in our audience are thinking where they can see this. I do know that it's beginning to play in Chicago, Illinois, Phoenix, Arizona, I'm sure California, and it'll slowly begin to roll out. But for those who have not seen it, what would you like to say to the audience regarding this movie?
You need to see it. It hands down, you need to see it. You need to absorb what's being admitted to you, what's showcasing in front of you. It's very, very important that everyone sees the film and grasps the understanding and the message. And it's a very strong message. And Cecile and Ben, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. What would you like to see happen?
No, it's a great opportunity to watch, for us in the US, like to see an international filmmaker and to see their take on a story that we are we don't know a lot about. And I think by seeing a story that says, hey, you can see a struggle of someone else and maybe get a peek into what it's like to live in someone else's shoes to kind of understand people better. Because in the end, we're all people, and the key is to understand each other.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Ben. Cecile?
I definitely agree with my colleagues because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where we're from, what your color is, we all have a heart and we all relate to the story of these three martyrs. And Shar, I don't look at her as she's Assyrian, she's just a sister to me. And Ben, yeah, he's Filipino like me, but we fight like brothers and sisters all the time. We have a lot of disagreement, but at the end of the day, I know his heart. I know he's a hard worker. Same thing with Shar. Sometimes we have disagreement. Sometimes I don't call her, but I love her and she knows I'm going to be there for her all the time. And at the end of the day, this is a universal movie that everybody can relate to. And I definitely want everyone out there watching this to please watch it, spread the message.
Please support, and we'll try and be there with my crew. We'll try and come out. I have my manager looking at the schedules right now to see where we can all go and support the film and continue to support the entire cast, the entire crew, Abby, Frank, congratulations. Everyone, please support the film. The more you support the film, the more Hollywood will get wind of it. And
Yeah, definitely.
please,
I
you
wanna
have
I
to
wanna
very-
Oh yeah, I just want to give props to Frank if he's watching this. I just want to tell him that he has such a great cinematic eye. He did amazing in his camera movements, the visuals, you know, the camera angles, his compositions of the in the lighting. I mean, all of those things made the movie, you know, awesome. And just the mood that he set with all of those composition and the camera angle, the shadows in certain scenes. I think that he has definitely a great career,
Yes,
long-term career in this
yes,
industry.
yes, he does.
You know, bringing it back to where our interview started in terms of film, and I'll open it up to everyone. Maybe Ben can start off, but what advice would you like to give to an aspiring filmmaker?
Well, for me, and I've had this actually question asked to me when a group of kids and they're all immigrated to the U.S. because they're from South. They ended up in years, and for them today, I was asked to speak to them. I was like, "Hey, what do you want me to film?" With? Like, yeah, everybody has a phone now. It's more easily accessible now to make any film. And I tell kids like, don't worry about your budget. Make something, shoot something, even if it's just your phone. Do it with friends. Do something, because you never know. Because it's always a learning experience. Every time you do something, you learn something about the process and also about yourself. And so when you do it enough, you'll approach it just like how Steven Spielberg did when he was a kid. He used to watch a lot of World War II movies and just try to get him and his friends to, hey, let's shoot something in the backyard with super 16 millimeter cameras and film it. And they came up with some ingenious ideas of how to make explosions in the dirt. And they would just make a little catapult of board and put dirt on it. And you step over and you get this little dirt blast. So like, I was like, oh, it's ingenious as a kid, because these kids just try to find they see the world as one big adventure. And for aspiring filmmakers is just go out there and shoot something. Just go out and do it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be the biggest, most expensive film. Go shoot something. If it means a lot to you, that's all it is. That's all you need.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Cecile, what do you think?
I'd say find other people with the same passion as you, just like Ben and Shar here, and maintain the relationship with these good, honest team players who's willing to roll their sleeves and make things happen. Follow your heart, okay? And know that we're not perfect people and we'll make mistakes, but keep going, never give up.
And Shar?
Pursue your dream. Don't let anyone stop you. I always tell the youth, look forward, don't look back. Keep going. Keep your focus.
Excellent.
Because if you start listening to the negativity, this person, that doesn't matter. You're living your dream for you. I live my dream for me. I live it for Cecile and Ben, right? So you just keep your focus and you keep going and you will succeed. So stay focused. If you lose that focus, we all do. Like Cecile said, we're not perfect because you may feel insecure here and there, but don't look back. Keep going. If this is what you want to do, get on film sets, be an extra on a movie set, understand the business, how it works. Go to a film festival and see all the dynamics that are involved. That's how, that's how I saw it. I saw it from a business perspective. It's a whole different world. So get out there, meet people, network, talk to us. We'll help you out. We'll help you guys out. I mean, we're here to support whoever we can. Keep going.
And actually, I do want to add to that. So, Shar is in our industry, it's, in the beginning, we get a little intimidated because we are expected, we're thinking that we should know everything when we don't. And it's okay to ask for help or ask to learn something, because I think for me, myself, I've mentored many people that came in, interns, PAs, anyone that come in the industry that want to learn. And I said, well, you want to learn this? Let me introduce you to someone who can help you. You want to learn camera? Let me introduce you to the DP. Let me introduce you to the Steadicam op. It's not being afraid to ask to learn something. It's okay to ask to learn. And just don't worry about if you think you're gonna look dumb. It's okay, because the fact that you want to learn something, you make yourself vulnerable. And when you talk to someone, so I want to learn this, and by knowing this, it helps you learn faster. Because in our industries, we have film schools that teach great, but then eventually all of us still gotta get on set. It's more like an apprenticeship. You're gonna learn from somebody. You gotta try to use your mind to learn as well. Read books, whatever you can, materials you can get to learn. And then ultimately someone kind of shows you, if you're lucky enough to find someone who will mentor you, that'll be the most valuable thing. Is that for me, one of my PAs that came to me that wanted to learn, I opened up to her about what she can ask me, the mindset of what to do. And then next thing you know, I got back with her. She's like, oh, I've been working for Lionsgate. I was working for Hulu. Now she just got promoted to a position at HBO Max. I'm like, well, congratulations. When I see people that want to work hard, want something, and if they have the work ethic, I think they'll achieve it. So
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, it's good to hear the collaboration and the call for mentorship. I think it's very important, not only within your industry, but within our community as well. I want to thank Shar, Cecile, Ben. Thank you so much for your time. One thing about this interview is that it didn't feel like an interview, it was a conversation, but you three were able to give a really intimate and in-depth insight as to not only film and production, but the process of Journey of Eternity from an outside perspective, you know, from an artistic standpoint. And I truly thank you for being able to communicate that with our viewers. And if there's nothing else, I want to close up the interview, the show, and thank the viewers as well for tuning in. I know I don't know if there's going to be any questions, but one of the questions that did come across to me was the film will be shown. I think you can tune in to Facebook or social media, and that's where they'll be getting the word out in terms of where to see the film. بأرخن مخبة هدية بتايخ الختام الدها خرزة أو رابة باسيما نتلاستونتي و عوودك الشيرة والوخا جرى رابة خيلانا جو غزقيم تومايا وميتت الإيتوتا أهزو الشكلة قدمة ساعت أسرة قيدمتا دانت كاليفورنيا ساعت أطشا بليلة عراق بتهاوي خات بقتا زي بتمقر خات بقتا رابي اسخاق ونابليون جي ورقس بس مالو خون قدمة 5 بآذر أسرة قيدمتا كاليفورنيا 9 p.m. Iraq and Nineveh. Shar, Ben, and Cecile, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah,
God bless
thank you.
everyone.